Hey everyone, good evening. It's your boy Richard Graves of the Richard Graves Group. I thought I'd sit and talk to you guys a little bit today about a couple of things going on in the world, bring you up on current affairs. I got my boy Jonathan Golden. He's going to be joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about this thing with Miss Richardson, the track runner. We're going to also go over a couple things that happened over last week. So without no delay, let me bring my brother Jonathan Golden on. Jonathan, how are you, bro?
Doing good. Doing good, man. Good.
All right, man. So it's good to see you. You know, hold on a second. I'm getting all this feedback now. You know, I need technological help on this. All right, man. But what's going on with you, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real estate out here in Michigan, man. Pandemic's over. Things are trying to normalize a little bit, and just trying to get back to normal, man. Get my kids back on track with the summer, kind of reset them for life being normal again. Hitting August, that's my primary thing. And selling houses in Michigan, and that's it. And I'm married, my wife, I love her to death. Mm-hmm. And we're in our second year, of marriage. So more than half of our marriage has been pandemic. You know what I mean? So yeah, and there was no challenges with the pandemic in that regard. We actually like each other, so we could stay in the house and not beat each other up. So. That's where I'm at, man. I always keep in touch and see what you're doing. When something hits the airwaves and social media, let me go see what Rich got to say.
Well, I'm glad somebody cares what I got to say, man. But to the point, well, first of all, congratulations. It's your second year of marriage, man. It's a good thing. I'm glad that y'all made it through the pandemic without choking each other. Mm-hmm. As far as that, I'm glad that you're back to, business up in Michigan is going back the way that's supposed to, you know what I'm saying? So same thing here, man. And, to the people that are subscribers, and those of you who haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. But, we are going to be doing more shows more consistently. I, too, have been dealing with the pandemic in my capacity working in public safety. So it was an interesting year, to say the least. Mm-hmm. So now we're dying down a little bit. Today, you and I were talking, we were posting back and forth. I put up a post about this young lady. I think her name is SHA'CARRI Richardson.
SHA'CARRI, as I understand.
All right. And this young lady, 21 years old, was, trying out for the Olympics, was definitely a shoo-in. People were looking forward to seeing her compete in the category that Florence Joyner had competed in, seeing that she might possibly beat or tie or beat Miss Joyner's record, which would be a historical feat. However, got drug tested, got popped for THC, which is normally found in weed. Okay, so, and it kicked off a discussion because, there are people that, immediately got on me, basically it's just weed, and she's a kid. She had a traumatic situation with her biological mother dying. I can't speak to, her emotional state. I can't speak to, if she was, with it being legal in her state. But the question is not one of legality. The question is one of rules. Mm-hmm. And the rules that the Olympics got right now, maybe they need to catch up with the law.
Maybe.
But the rules are you can't smoke weed.
Right.
And this caused you and I to have a bigger discussion about the whole thing, about the whole weed culture that we got, and now, I was around in the 90s, when Snoop Dogg and their thing, so we know that hip hop culture, particularly gangster rap culture and the current hip hop culture promotes this type of drug use, amongst other things. I mean, you hear songs talking about popping mollies and all kinds of different things in regard to drugs. But weed, because it's being legalized, is one of those things that is not, taken as seriously.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, alcohol is legal. I think alcohol is much more destructive than weed is, in my opinion and observation.
Statistically, it is. It's
Yeah.
the worst drug of them all.
But the reality is, if you get a job today at Target, all right, they're gonna drug test you for the job, and that's the work at Target.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a company has a right to set its own rules. They don't want you being high. They don't want you having weed in your system. They don't want you being drunk. They don't want you to have alcohol in your system. All right, they don't want you to have opiates in your system. Things of that nature. They don't want that. If you want to work there, you follow the rules. So she knew, she was aware of the rules of the Olympic Committee. She wasn't, I guess, expecting to be dropped. She got dropped. Now there's the consequence. Somebody probably snitched on her. Let her, the truth be told, you know how it go.
Yeah.
Somebody hating your spot, may go ahead, go get blunted up, and then be the one to make the phone call on you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just, you have made a statement regarding negative culture within the Black community.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on, how you tie in this use of weed being normalized to the point of people not getting jobs and fired from. Let's talk about that for a minute.
So let me just start with when I first heard about it. I had been watching the young sister, and she was phenomenal. I'm like, yeah, I see you. She got her nails done. She represents and has the look of an urban young lady, and I can just see a lot of people identifying with that. And so she was rocking the crowd. Imagine being at a concert and rocking the crowd. She was rocking the country, rocking the urban inner city community. She was rocking it. And then all of a sudden, the CD skipped.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was like when we heard she was doing what she did marijuana. So my first thought is, I was disappointed. There was no, you know what I'm saying? I get it. I'm like, dang, another one, another incidents where the weed culture or popularization of weed is stopping forward momentum of somebody. Now, she could be in the really all that, but that's not what the claim to fame was going to be. It was going to be her running the 100 and being like FloJo, and from there she was going to catapult her career. It was disappointing, and I thought to myself, the second thing is, who was around her? If she was smoking around somebody, if she didn't say, "Hey, sis, you may drop. Don't do that. Let's just hold off for a month." So and I get there may be her mom or death in the family having something to do with that, but at the same time, if I know she's going to the Olympics and she has a trajectory to fame and courage, and to be a light and a role model and somebody that looks like us, if you will, doing what she's doing, I would say, yo, sis, don't smoke the weed. We can't do that, baby. Let's not jeopardize what you got going on. You know what I mean? We can't do that. Yeah. I got recruited to play football out of high school. Guess what I couldn't do? I couldn't smoke weed. I grew up in the 90s with you.
Mm-hmm.
Weed was everywhere. But guess what I didn't do? I didn't smoke weed. Because guess what? I didn't want to drop and lose my scholarship. Well, I probably wouldn't have lost the scholarship, but I'd have been suspended. I couldn't play. And weed was not that important to jeopardize my athletic career. And so it was the same thing with this young lady. People talk about, don't judge. Well, that whole don't judge, first of all, it's not biblically correct, and you're not exegeting the text properly. Holding somebody accountable is not judgment. It's saying, hey, yo, you messed up. You can't do it. Come on, sis. And she's facing the consequence, and she took it like a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up. But us having a commentary on it isn't judgment, because now when I present this young lady to my kids or to my daughter, it's to admonish her not to be like that. Whereas if she had done what she's supposed to, I'm like, look at this young lady and what she did on the world stage. Now I got to say to my daughter, don't let weed interfere with your career. That's the example that she is now for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to being the Olympic champion who did it right. So that's what she went from, yo, Charlize is my daughter's name. Yo, look at her. Look at what she did. You know what I'm saying? Look, she remained herself. She kept it real. She was herself. She didn't try to be nobody else. And look what she accomplished. to look at what she did because she messed up because she was on that NS. She was engulfed in the weed culture, and she didn't have the discipline. You know, I know plenty of people that smoke weed who don't, but these are people who've understood. I am not going to let smoking weed jeopardize my future, my money, my career, none of those things. And they stop or do what they have to do for the time that they need to do it, so they can do what they need to do and provide and be those things. And so it was more disappointing than anything. And I don't get people making excuses for weed. It being harmless and all that. The rule is you can't smoke weed, dude. Like, just don't do it. And she could have waited a whole month, man. And it was just very disappointing. And to express that disappointment in just a bad decision, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not judging. She let us know. Flat out. Yeah. We was like this, Rich. We was like this with it. We was behind it. And here's another one because of weed.
Right. And bro, you are correct, man. I mean, you know, we've all known people who have smoked weed, you know. I've known people that lost jobs because of smoking weed, you know, and it's like, look, if you can't stop something for your money or for your career, if you can't stop doing something for your money or your career, I don't care if it's weed, if it's alcohol, whatever it is, all right, then you have a problem.
Yes.
It's not recreational at that point.
No.
That's a problem, you know, and I think that people need to accept that. No one's passing judgment on this woman. All right. Judgment's already been passed. She got the minimum,
right?
The minimum consequence for her action. She could have got a year, and then she wouldn't have done anything. She got that minimum consequence. And, you know, there's people right now that are going to get fired from jobs that need to support their family that we really should be concerned about. But if it's somebody, if that happens in general, we're like, oh man, he should have knew better, or she should have knew better.
Right.
Because, you know, we want to celebrate this, you know, we do in the African-American community, we celebrate athletes and rappers and actors. We put them on these pedestals. And I know they don't ask to be role models, as Charles Barkley so eloquently told us back in the day. But
right.
It comes with the territory. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, it does. It does.
You know, you are going to be a role model. She is going to be a role model for young black women, you know. So, and to black people in general, young black male athletes, she's going to be a role model, you know. So I'm glad she took her weight for it, you know. Of course, you know, there's always going to be spin, you know, people going to spin it the way they're going to spin the narrative. But at the end of the day, you know, it's unfortunate. I wanted to see her compete in that race. I want to see her break that record and make history. Now we won't get to see that. Hopefully, you know, 4 years from now when she's 25, hopefully she's still got to get down and she can do it at that time, you know. But neither here nor there. But you know, at this point, it is what it is, and you've made it very clear regarding the whole culture of weed. And I think that you make a good point about judging. You know, we have this society that's extremely judgmental. All right. Now, you and I both understand the theology of and in the you know, looking at that scripture in context about us judging. We, as Christians, we judge judgment according to the scriptures and the Word of God.
Yes.
That means that if you know I'm a Christian, I know you're a Christian, right? And I'm doing something that is clearly not biblical, clearly not right. If you tell me, hey, Rich, man, you might not want to do that because the words say this, I can't respond. Don't judge me. You're not judging me by telling me we both have a standard that we know. You know, in this case, with her, the standard was the rules of her organization.
Right.
We're not judging her. It was like, this is the rules, whether we agree with the rules or not. And hopefully they do change, but they're not going to change now. This is what it was when we got caught up.
Right.
So here we are. It is what it is, you know. And, you know, then we hear all these discussions about race and that rules against marijuana were predicated in racism. And, you know, it becomes this big discussion when it really comes down to you broke a rule, you're in sports, and there are consequences. And who was that swimmer, the swimmer you were talking about?
Michael Phelps.
Okay, so when he got caught after he won all this stuff.
6 months after.
6 months after, he got punished for getting caught seen smoking weed.
Right.
In one drop, he was seen. His punishment, where they stripped him of them endorsements and stuff, that punishment was predicated on him as a role model. Because the larger culture, not our African American culture, but the larger culture that we are part of, we're a subculture of, does not want their kids getting the idea that smoking weed is cool.
Thank you. Like, stop. Y'all need to stop with that.
Yeah, because we don't want them doing commercials. They kicking back with a bud, or drinking some vodka, some shots. They're not doing Patron commercials. We would be shocked if athletes was going around doing that, because they do represent, they are looked at as role models to children. So I think people need to understand, put this whole weed thing in context. But speaking to that, man, we talked about the African American community, our community. And we've talked about, some of this negative, what I call lowest common denominator things that we like to celebrate and elevate. Think about it. Every time somebody say, I'm keeping it real, I'm keeping it 100, or I'm being a real N-word.
Right.
Every time somebody says something bad generally happens.
Right.
In the Boondocks, they call them N-word moments.
Right.
So, and we all recognize this. But we act like when anybody critiques us or says, hey, the only person who gets away with telling us not to have N-word moments is Minister Farrakhan. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Only one that can get up and say, because I guess everybody afraid of fruit of Islam or something. I don't know. But nobody's saying nothing to Minister Farrakhan when he says something to black men. If he tell a bunch of black men, get up and defend your families, go get a job, nobody says anything. But if you say the exact same thing and you happen to be a moderate Republican or a Christian, then you self-hate. So we got to talk about that differently.
Yeah.
But to the point I was going to make, when we are talking about things like with the Sherry Carter thing and SHA'CARRI Richardson thing, I'm sorry, it made me think about, this recent thing with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to touch talking about if he was guilty or innocent. Well, we can talk about guilty or innocent because those are legal terminology.
Right.
Morally speaking, was he right or wrong? I'm not going to touch that. But I am going to touch legally, he's innocent. That's what simple as that. Even so-called technicality, he's innocent in the eyes of the law. He's not
exactly. So when it first went down, Rich, I was telling everybody, it's like, yo, man, due process wasn't done right. There was agreements, and you had not a liberal judge as far as liberal, but you had a judge doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do. I was like, because I just left a law, 5 years at a law firm. I'm like, Cosby's going to be out in a couple of years. Like, it was not, I knew from the jump, and I read the entire deposition. I read it all. So it ain't like I'm ignorant and I listened to what the news said. I read the whole thing, and I'm like, nah, bro. He's gonna get out. It was easy to me. It was that easy. I'm like, yeah, we'll see him out. This is just it's just a matter of time. And all the hoopla and all the other things going on, and this, that, and the third, allegations and it was used to me, man. You got the whole liberal side and the Me Too and all this other stuff, man. And everybody. I think, man, we really have to stop and just stop. I hate to say stop watching the news, because you kind of need to, or at least when you watch it with some intelligence, or don't believe what you hear the first time. At least go and try to do your due diligence and some level of research. Just don't take it at face value, at least, and try to figure out why are they showing me this? Why are they showing me this at this time? And what message are they conveying to me by showing this to me? You go through that criteria, and then you may find what the truth really is. And it may not be what they're telling you, or it may be slanted, or they may not be telling you everything. So unfortunately, we have to come up with a methodology to look at the news.
Unfortunately. I think so. I think that's always been the case, even since the founding of our country.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Ben Franklin had the printing press. That was a big deal back then. And the political pamphlets that they were putting out to incite the American Revolution, because everybody at this time over here were British citizens, with the exception of our slave ancestors, were British citizens. So as citizens of the crown, British subjects, as subjects of the crown,
Mm.
They were good, but it was the middle management who wanted to buck the system and had their own thing, and they kept putting out for 15 years prior to that war. They kept putting out propaganda pamphlets, why we shouldn't be under the crown, to try to get the masses riled up, and they finally found something that hit, with the taxation issue. And next thing you know, there we go, the American Revolution. But throughout history, even during the Civil War, media was used as a propaganda tool to cause racial hatred of Black people. Prior to the Civil War, Black people considered simple-minded, gentle. We don't know no better, sir. That was how Black folks was looked at. During the Civil War, to get everybody hyped up against Blacks, getting equality or getting freedom, all of a sudden we became these monsters, these looming beasts that was out trying to rape white women and do all manner of evil. So that became the narrative. The media pushed that. During the Gilded Age, the media pushed a message of anti-labor, that Randolph Hearst, who owned a lot of the newspapers, and through it with Carnegie and, what's his name, Rockefeller and Morgan, funding misinformation campaigns. So if you go, and I can go through every historical area, I won't waste your time on that. I'll stop being a teacher. But when we get to our modern era, I mean, we had some integrity in news between the end of World War II and the end of the Cold War. I think because there was propaganda, but there wasn't objectivity. The journalists, the Fourth Estate had got a bit more, what's the word for it? I should say their professional standards were tight. Your Walter Cronkites and things like that. And you can see bias, cultural bias reflecting the culture they came from. But what you don't see a lot is purposed misinformation to mislead. And we get back to that, I would say, during the 80s, right when we get to the Reagan era. And that's when we start seeing the media being used as a propaganda tool again. Then we enter that 24-hour news cycle that has to be filled up. Used to be the news was the time everybody in the country got together at 10 o'clock in the Midwest or 9 o'clock out east, and we watched the news. We all knew the same news, and then on the next day, we're talking about the same things.
Right.
That isn't the case anymore. Now you have, your vanity news. You pick what you want to hear, and you shut out what you don't want to hear. If I want to only hear a radical right-wing agenda, I'm going to listen to Fox. If I want to hear a more radical, progressive leftist ideology, I'm going to listen to MSNBC. And so people are picking their news to reinforce what they already believe, as opposed to challenging what you believe and getting actual facts. And I think this has caused part of what you're seeing, like you were talking about with Kaz. People had agendas pushing forward. Some would say they're trying to get the truth out, but I don't know. But to our people, I'm going to say this. Honestly, I don't think that the African-American community would have been so quick to jump against Cosby as we see, because they rode with R. Kelly for a long time. We as people roll with R. Kelly. We didn't care how many girls he peed on. He made Step in the Name of Love. So that's everything.
Right.
But the reality is I individually wasn't, but our community was. But with Cosby, they threw him under the bus real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of Black comedians threw him under the bus because they felt and it's all personal to me. I think it's because the Black comedians, you always hear them say, well, he got on us for saying the N-word, or he got on us for this or that, and he didn't like our type of comedy. So y'all basically celebrating the fact that dude went down. Not that it was right or wrong, but it was that, look, yeah, you didn't like me using the N-word, but you was raping people. That you wanted to be in that higher position or higher moral position to judge him now because you felt he judged you. And the greater community, I think Bill was still guilty of the pound cake speech. He gave that pound cake speech, and when he said that our community needs to prioritize other things, I think you and I discussed this. I think he said it wrong, and if you go to school to preach, you learn in a seminary that if you going to preach about sin, the one thing you don't say is you need to change. Y'all need to change. You don't say that from the pulpit. You say we. Because you got to be with we all sinners. We got to correct it. I think Bill's speech, what messed up Bill in that speech was he kept saying, you people, you people naming your children this, you naming them Shaquanda, Shaquisha, or you buying them Jordans at $250 instead of investing in school.
hold on, Rich. Let me say this, man.
Mhm.
I think you're right. I'm not gonna beat him up too much about how he said it. I think what so everything Bill said to me, my mom had a private conversation with me all the time about. She's talking to me about all that same stuff, Bill Cosby. You can't do this. If you're gonna be an athlete, you're gonna be an educated athlete. You're gonna learn how to talk, and you ain't gonna be enough. You're gonna learn how to speak articulately. That's what I'm gonna do. You ain't gonna be in NS, and you ain't. I'm not buying you no Jordans, and I love Michael Jordan. I ain't buying you no. Back then it was $100 pair.
That was still too much back then for us.
Yeah. I'm not buying you no $100 pair of Jordans and blah 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 because you still growing. She went through the whole thing. I grew up with that Bill Cosby speech, but I think there's sometimes there are in-house conversations and then there's conversations you have outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Bill let the world in on an in-house conversation.
Right. But brother, I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna say that was it because Malcolm X said the same things about our priorities.
He was positioned differently, though.
Right. But it was heard around the world.
Yeah.
And, my mother and my father said the same thing. My mother and my father said the same things to me. Hey, do this, do that, be this, be that. Exactly like you're saying. I hear, and they were in-house conversations. We had these conversations in our churches, in our synagogues, in our mosques. These conversations were had. But you're right. I think that it became an outside conversation. But I don't think that alone did him. It did him when he started saying you.
Oh, you just did.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Because when you look at Michael Eric Dyson, who was a chief critic of Bill at that time, he was basically saying you are shaming poor Black people. So my thing is we got to say us. This is us. We need to do better because now there are no more in-house conversations. Mm-hmm. We're getting in trouble because a lot of the in-house conversations we used to have are now with social media.
Yeah.
Take Nick Cannon. Remember when Nick Cannon made that Hebrew Israelite Hotepery statement about Jewish people? We know you and I have heard that since we were little.
Yes.
All right. This is something that emerged during our religious movements. When we had the Moorish American Science Temple, our Hebrew Israelite temples, all those things. As those religions started forming, those are where those narratives came from. Mm-hmm. And while we said them in the barbershop to one another, nobody cared.
Right.
Majority white culture didn't even know these were conversations being had. Now you get Nick Cannon. He's on YouTube. All right. And he's got 1 million people watching. And you say this thing that you think is innocuous because it's been said so often within the Hotepery circle. But now the world is hearing the Hotepery circle. You just, El Israel, whatever your name is. Now you getting heard by everybody. And now we like, man, we try to tell y'all, that's where we at.
Right.
So I think we have to accept the fact that now we're having bigger discussions, which actually we have to accept that because it does have a lot to do with the things we're dealing with now. Like, for example, the whole idea of when BLM started, when it started supposedly to address the problems between law enforcement and the African American community, supposedly. But we'll talk about that later. But
right.
What was the immediate response? Well, what about Black on Black crime? Now we got mad. We're like, wait a minute, why we understand we can be mad about it. But see, my thing is this: we coined the phrase Black on Black crime. This was during the time during Public Enemy, X-Clan, Rakim, KRS-One. When we coined that phrase, fight Black on Black crime with Black on Black love. I remember seeing the billboards and the posters of us doing that.
Self-destruction.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So now when somebody flips that term on us, we get mad. There's no such thing as black. Well, we coined the term. All right. Of course, most crime is done between people of the same race. So it's really an irrelevant. It's a statement that doesn't need to be said. Crime is crime. But, we can't at one level, criticize the police, rightfully so, for things that happen when the police are wrong. When the police are wrong, like with George Floyd, police clearly wrong. Laquan McDonald, police wrong. Mm-hmm. All right. We can't go after all that and act like it's a national epidemic. And when we ignore the 60 to 75 shootings that we know about that happened in Chicago or Baltimore or Detroit or in LA, wherever there's a majority African-American population within a certain social economic group, we need to understand that that is a problem.
Yeah.
And we can't downplay that. So again, I say all this to say, I don't know how I got there, but just that we don't like the light being shown on us. We feel that we air in our dirty laundry, but the fact is there ain't no more hiding that no more.
That's true.
These are world conversations now.
Yeah. That's real good. That's what powerful to say. They're world conversations. We're connected like this. Me and you just connected, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't never seen you in person, but we've been with Facebook friends forever. It is a world conversation. It's a national conversation. And even with that though, we still have to. I see so much trash. I just can't even believe it. I think some people need to have their kids taken away from some of the trash I see on social media. Saying all that to say, what I'm trying to say is that even that comes with the responsibility not to cultivate and push the NS culture or the weed culture. Like there's still responsibilities, and this becomes even more paramount to be responsible with, because now when you put something out there, you can't just take it back.
No.
They ain't gonna
let you take it back. I mean, look at you got people that, like with Kevin Hart, had made the homophobic statements.
Yeah,
that were normal at the time they were made. Like when Eddie Murphy made his jokes about gays and lesbians, those were normal at the time.
Right.
Not that they were right. Hear me clearly, people. I'm not saying they were right. I'm saying they were normal. There was no backlash. All right. Now that we've come to a more conscious age of understanding that we should not be, insulting groups of people in that way, they go back to that time. Let's cancel him for what he said back then when it was acceptable. Mm-hmm. No matter how many times he apologized for it, we're going to hold him to that. We're not going to let a person change or grow and understand. Right. When we were kids, you were fighting out in the yard and you might call a boy the F word. I would never do that now. I would never teach my kids to do that, because we understand the hurtfulness in that. However, we didn't at the time, and there was a time that white people would use the N-word in certain circumstances. I think they felt perfectly comfortable doing amongst each other. Mm-hmm. Now, probably less, when Paula Deen got crucified, they asked her if she used the N-word. She said, yeah, I used the N-word, but man, I think it was about 78. I got mad at somebody. Black man robbed me. I said, this N-word robbed me. Oh my God, we canceled Paula Deen. Had black people sneaking into a restaurant down in Pigeon Forest. Nobody was I was one of them sneaking in. I'm like, yes, she said the N-word, but I'm gonna need some of that fried chicken right now. I want no chicken. I'm making sure nobody got me on camera.
Right.
I ain't gonna hold that against her. I'm sure a lot of white people use that term back there. That have since changed how they think.
Yeah.
But we don't allow people to change. If we're gonna hold people hostage to who they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, well, then I don't understand how we do that and go forward, in society. It's just going to be a cancel fest. I know there was canceling Pepe Le Pew. Remember that?
Man, that was bull, bro.
Honestly, man. I'm on both sides of that. Let me explain. One, I don't think it should be shown anymore. Okay.
It ain't. Right? My kids don't know who Pepe Le Pew is.
I hear you, man.
Come on, man.
But I'm thinking that people who remember it still, and their feelings traumatized, I guess, went back to say cancel. But I think what the discussion should have been was like, wow, this was normal. What does this look like when we look at it as adults and look at it? It looks like he was kind of a creep, he was pushing up on this poor cat. He
thought it was a skunk, though.
Yeah, well, still, he was pushing up on what he thought was a female skunk. But at the end of the day, the thing is, though, going to cancel it's like, okay, I get it, but why?
You're canceling something that's already been canceled.
It's not a circulation. No one is saying, wearing, encouraging this type of behavior. So it's just. Again, and I'm not trying to get off topic because I'm trying to keep it at what we as a culture need to stop doing. Right. What we as a culture, let me get back to us as a culture. The thing that I'm saying with us is that we don't want people to hear our dirty laundry, but it's out there now.
Yeah.
And we don't want people to criticize the negative things in our community. But the thing is with us, we got to stop uplifting the negative things in our community and making them We uplift the negative things in our community and make it black.
Yeah.
And anything positive we do is acting white.
Yeah.
We got to stop that.
Listen, bro. Listen, bro. Glorifying ghetto culture. Listen, you know how many times I have been asked or people say, "Oh, well, you sound white," but black and white people, they just come out and say, "Oh, you talk white." I'm like, because I have mastery of the English language. Like that kind of thing always blows my mind. I'm like, and I'm gracious to them because I know what they mean and I understand. Mm-hmm. But it's just like you don't get out much because I'm not like the only articulate black educated person in the world. I'm not even the only one in my damn neighborhood. So
and honestly though, my thing is them saying that is the equivalent of a white person saying you sound so articulate. We get upset when that happens, because we see racism in that. But we don't see the self-hate in going to a brother speaking Her Majesty's and saying, well, you're sounding white because you sound professional. But at the other end, we want to uplift negative things and make it blackness. To the point that when called upon it, you feel as if we're attacking black people. You selling drugs. Malcolm X says you selling poison to your brothers and sisters. We say this now. We get a bunch of predominantly black women bucking back on us, talking about people make mistakes. That's what they do. That's what they do because they are under the impression that only men they can get our men in prison because there ain't enough. The lie of there's not enough eligible black men out there. So to reinforce that, you want to normalize crime. And I'm not saying that weed should be something you go to prison for. And technically, if you ever read somebody's rap sheet, it isn't something someone goes to prison for. I've read rap sheets and I'll see possessions all across the board. They don't ever go to jail. All right. But you see the progression of the crime. By the time you get through the rap sheet, you look around, man, he just not coming to jail. He should have been here because he get away with all this. Now we at the attempted murder, here. So I think that the in the federal level, they were overcharging people over sentencing, and that's wrong. I'm all for equality in sentencing, lowering sentences for stupid things, not putting people in prison for drug charges when they're users, But we have normalized people out there slanging crack. We normalized that in the late 80s, early 90s. That's something I got to do to feed my family. No, you don't. You could go work at McDonald's. Yeah, you're not going to make the big banking you making with that slanging the weed or slanging the crack or the heroin, but it won't go get you in prison because I guarantee you, if you go to a prison and ask how many people are in there for something they did that they did not know was illegal when they did it, they're gonna get some say they didn't do it. But you're not gonna get too many saying, I didn't know it was illegal to sell crack. I had no idea. You're not gonna get that. You're making a choice. I was broke in the early 90s. Everybody was DJing and everybody wants to start a record label. Let's sell crack and then start a record label like Eazy-E did. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
I don't want to go to jail. Not something I want to do, but we've normalized a lot of negative things in our community and tried to excuse it as opposed to saying, no, we need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And, so I've had some of my friends, some of my sociological friends will say, well, when white people had the opiate addiction thing, they didn't throw them under the curve and they supported them. I'm not talking about addicts. I'm not talking about working with people who are hooked on drugs. I'm talking about drug dealers. All right. I'm talking about people, we want to normalize, people doing home invasions and breaking in houses and acting like they political prisoners when they in prison for that. No, you're not. Because most of the time, the person whose house you broke into was somebody lived next to you in the hood.
Right. Yeah.
All right. That's the house you broke into. You're feeling from hard work, and the majority of the people in the hood is working hard trying to keep stuff. You breaking, kicking in their door, stealing their stuff. All right. That's what I'm talking about. We got to stop normalizing that sort of thing and simply saying, hey, that's wrong, and call people on it and call our people on it, because what white folks ain't doing. All right. Yeah. They're, oh my God, the opiate crisis. They're saying that. But they ain't trying to normalize the meth heads. Saying,
that's right.
That's normal being a meth. Meth is normal. What was he gonna do? He lived in a trailer park. He had to pay the bills. You ain't hear nobody justifying that.
Right.
You get to justify it, but he had no choice but to slang. He was in the hood. He needed new gym shoes. Like that's a reasonable reason. Right. He wanted to go fly to school like everybody else. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, at some point we got to really deal with not celebrating everything negative as blackness, and then act by mutual implication saying any positive thing you do is white. Go to college, white. Go to prison. That's what real brothers do, man. He real in word there. Go to college. Well, he trying to be like, he going to the white man school, and he's gonna get a 9 to 5.
I heard all of that.
Like,
I heard all of that, bro.
So you hear what I'm saying, man.
I heard all of that nonsense. Just absolutely nonsense, man. And I just I try to. They're just responsibility, man. Just being, and I guess you and I, man, I'm becoming to find out that maybe we were just, our parents did what they're supposed to do, man. They, I'm sure none of us were perfect. I made some hell of mistakes, man, but there were some mistakes I didn't need to make to know I ain't had no business doing it. You understand?
In real talk, brother. I deal with the population. I deal with people that are locked up. Some of the realest dudes, man. Look, man, I meet their families, man. Great families.
Yeah.
Mother good, father good. Brothers, working, own businesses. And the dude just say, you know what, man, I just made some bad choices, man. That's what it is. That's why I'm here. I made some bad choices. That's the thing that we need to let people own. And don't get me wrong, I'm not ignoring the reality of systemic and institutional issues that put pressures on African Americans and even Latinos and stuff like that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm saying ultimately we got to hold each other accountable and provide a better way. So for the brothers, to try to keep brothers from going to jail, all right, and for when they come out, to try to keep them from going back, we got to start doing things like that. I'm not saying throw away brothers when they come out, they made a mistake. You did your time. Now let's see what we can do to make it better, to get you so you don't have to do no more time. You don't have to go back. And then for the young ones, the ones who've been to the joint, need to tell the young ones, this is what you do not to go back. I got friends that do that. My friend J.L. Harris, he speaks a lot to young people about, hey, these are mistakes I made and I ended up in prison. These are the things I did right after I got out of prison. Now I'm a successful business owner. I'm working with youth. I'm working with prisoners and trying to do positivity. So we can do that, and it's just, we got to stop acting like everything negative that is in our community is worthy of protection under the blanket of blackness. We got to stop that.
You're right. Yeah, we do got to stop it, bro. We got to stop that, bro. That's just, it's becoming too much. And then you can't ostracize people for saying, hey, yo, we can't do that. We can't be like me and you. We had posts and people went in, and I'm like, I don't care, man. Like, we do need to help where we can help. I'm a part of some things that are brewing to help some people in the city learn how to invest in real estate. Not to put me out there like that, but we can help where we can help. But at the same time, we need to raise the standard a little bit. Just raise a little bit. The capacity to be better is there. And we need to raise the standard a little bit. We can't just have the minimum wage mentality, as I like to say, or low vibration mentality. We need to raise a little bit. There's a lot of information. The invention of this right here, you have access to the world. There's nothing that you can't know and you can't find out anymore. You have everything. Anything you want to know, anything you want to do. Everything. You got an app for everything to make money. So it's to me, it's just, it's there. Let's raise the expectations a little bit. Let's raise the bar. I'm not one, Rich, and I may be harsh on this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I am not one to say, well, they young, so they make mistakes. No, everybody young ain't making mistakes.
No.
Some young people like, you know what? I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to, at least on this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me not go that way. Every young people ain't using drugs. Every young person is not smoking weed. They're not. Some young people, they go to school and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it in. My daughter goes to a school with 100% graduation rate, 90% going to college, and it's a predominantly black school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not this, and also part of the NS culture or ghetto culture, is to think that everybody's ghetto.
Yeah, or ghetto is the default standard to celebrate
for black. Yeah, and it's
celebration of ghetto-ness. But yeah. we have a lot of cultural influence to help thank for that. And I like I said, I'm a DJ. I began DJing. I hate to say, you see all this gray hair. So I'm gonna say I started DJing when hip hop started. Okay, so I know what it was. Okay, and I know what it is. And unfortunately, I think that hip hop culture has become synonymous with gang culture, drug culture, and it pushes that negative imagery, and it pushes a negative image of black maleness that a lot of black males try to live up to, unfortunately, which gets them caught up. I'm in Chicago where they got all the drill music, and you got, the different mobs. You got the BDs and GDs and the Lords and everybody, even the Latin mobs are doing it now. The drill music and these videos they posting on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, peeing on people's graves, and there's a shooting after that. It's so the hip hop, I listen to, like, I don't know if you ever listen to Gangster Chronicles. So you should listen to Gangster Chronicles. It's a good show. If those of y'all, Gangster Chronicles, it's Mob James, Norm Steele, and MC8. Great show. Mob James and MC8, and they give a lot of insight to gang culture, what was wrong, the wrong of it, and they don't encourage it, but they tell the story about what it is. And my thing is, I notice in a lot of the hip hop shows, particularly Vlad's show, Vlad TV, he does a lot of hip hop shows. Yeah. But it's like you hear them often talking about rappers, not on the MC scale, but how real of a G they were. He was a gangster. He was about the business. Like, that's something positive. So now we got it. So you can't even be a rapper unless you got some street cred, unless you a G. That's a negative thing, man. I mean, you got Ice Cube. And I hear people talk about Ice Cube all the time. Ice Cube, man. Ice Cube, he ain't no real G. I'm like, what's he supposed to be? I mean, do you want him to have some bodies and that make you, he done killed 3 or 4 people, been to the pen, that make him legitimately a great MC to you? I mean, he's a great rapper. Now, real talk, Cube is from the hundreds, he is from out there. He won the Crip, he won with the Rolling 100s, but I bet you if you mess with Cube, you got to deal with the Rolling 100s. I bet you that much. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, though, I'm saying, though, he was there. He was telling a story about this is life. And you should be able to tell a story that you're witnessing without having to be part of the gang structure. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that we come to a point now that MCs have to have street credibility and done shot somebody, been to prison in order even to be an MC. We done made that a negative venture. And so that just goes to show it's representative of the normalization of that and making that the standard. This is the standard, and honestly, I'm gonna speak on this, and I don't know if we might get in dangerous territory on this one I'm about to say, but I think it has a negative impact on the relationships between African American men and African American women. Because let me be clear. Right now, I'm not going to go. Right, looks like we only got 4 viewers now, so hopefully it don't go viral. So I'm gonna go with the 4 people that's watching and say, because of this whole distorted imagery of what it is to be a black male, you got to be kind of hard. You got to be a G. You got to be a gangster. It has really messed up a lot of sisters, particularly, because a lot of brothers ain't trying to be that. Right. So if you're not that, you're a lame. Your brother, I ain't gonna deal. He a lame, girl. He a lame. And by the time you figure out that lame is the one who owns the the Fortune 500 business, or now is a partner at the law firm now, or now is running some other type of business. You 3 kids later, and you mad because he don't want you now. Right. Or even worse, while he was trying to talk to 10 to 12 of y'all, and he was too lame, some white girl come along and get him. Now, you really, so, and I'm going to say this, I think that the sisters, in many cases, have bought into that negative imagery to the idea, they get this idea of what a black man is supposed to be. Yeah. But when they come across us, what we actually are, and then people say, oh, it's just me. It's not simple as, I don't want a good guy. It's just that their idea of what a man is. It's so distorted. You're not a strong man if you ain't got that little thugness in you. I've heard sisters, and these college educated sisters I had these conversations with. Yeah, he gotta have a little thug in him. I'm like, okay, because I need to know he gonna protect me. That's so they equate that thugness with manhood. You know,
You
and
know what, man? Yeah.
I think that distorts us, man. Don't get me wrong. Most African Americans who are married to me, we're mostly married to each other. You know, we're in relationships with each other.
Yeah. 88, what, 84% the last
Yeah.
time I heard.
And I don't think that number is going to drastically change. It's just
Yeah.
reality of the situation. But my problem is that, you know, this distortion of black malehood or black maleness, it affects black men to make us try to step up to that ghetto gangster standard that we shouldn't be trying to step up to.
Right.
And it makes black women and your girls and women expect that standard to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it so many times when I worked off duty downtown for events in Chicago or different events, and you see a group of black girls and you see a group of young black boys. If they not coming a certain way, girl, they all lanes over there. I bet he go to college. I've heard people say that. Like, is that a negative? I'm gonna tell you a quick story, man.
I had a smack the taste out of my daughter's mouth. She said something like that.
One time I'm on a date, man. This is when I was young, man. This is when I was a young man. I had to be 25, so this is right. I think it's right after Pac got killed, and I was in LA, and you know I'm hanging out, and we driving, and I'm in the car with this girl. You know how you go on a date. One of my homies, fellow Marine of mine, back out there, hooks me up with a girl. Me, her, him, and his girl. I'm just not meeting this chick. Right. So we driving and she says to me, she says, well, you know how you had those conversations. Back then we had those so-called deep conversations, even though 25 we don't know nothing, but we think we do. So we have a deep conversation about what being a man is, right? We get to that somehow. Now this is a college educated black woman, all right, working, you know, in business in Los Angeles, you know, so she's doing the thing. And I said, well, you know, I was in the Marine Corps, you know, I served, I did this, I did that. I got a job, I got my own place, I take care of my responsibilities. And she looked at me with a straight face and said, have you ever been shot? I'm like, no. She said, you ever been to prison? I was like, no. Now I'm thinking this is leading up to her saying something positive. Then she gonna say, well, you ain't no real black man then if that ain't. I'm like, what?
She was in your car?
No, I was in their car.
Oh, okay. Wherever I was at, I'd have pulled over and tell her, get your ass up on out of here. Even if it was on the highway. And I don't think, hear me out, brother. I don't think that, hopefully that's not most sisters. No. But it's enough sisters where it's noticeable. It's like, it's not most brothers who try to be that gangster, but it's enough where we have a problem. You know, we have a problem. We need to deal with that because we don't want those standards, those negative standards to define who we are or what we expect, to define our expectations. Right. Because it's a negative to us as individuals and as a group. It does. It creates the illusion that there are not enough black men around. It perpetuates that foolishness. So one thing that came to my mind was like, you know, to the sisters, like, and that kind of mentality then somehow backfires when we have our young women raising our boys. They want the thug, but they ain't raising their son to be hardcore like that. They're softening up on the son, and we have the softer. And I'm being very politically correct and taming down what I really want to say. The softer males coming out. And so then you want the thug when you're younger. Then you grow up a little bit. 3 kids later, 3 baby daddies later. Honestly, now you have too much mileage. You've got mileage. You have baggage. So now here's Mr. Joe College, as you call him, Lane. Got his stuff together. He may have a broken relationship with 1 kid, or whatnot. You want him to take a look, but I got to foot the bill, and I got to deal with 3 baby daddies. Oh Lord! Help you raise your kids, okay, and be the provider. Now, I'm gonna say something, brother. You know we about to get in trouble in this line of conversation. You know, I don't care nothing about all that. Come on with it. Because you know, you got the dude, I forgot his name that we talking about.
Why should a black man accept you with all these kids? Now, let me be clear. Let me get some context here. If you in your 20s, early 30s, and you have no children, and you want a woman with no children, then that is the expectation you should have.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. You get past your mid 30s, the likelihood of a woman having a child or
Right.
yourself having one is
Right.
realistic, and you got to accept that.
Yeah.
All right. When you're in your 40s, definitely, if you're going into your second marriage or whatever, hey, it is what it is.
Right.
What we're talking about is young people. I'm talking about people between the ages of, like, let's say 18 and maybe up to 33, 32, 33 there. Young brothers, you're not supposed to. You don't have to accept the fact that you got to get a sister. There's a lot of black women who don't have kids that you can get with. And not that the ones who do, you shouldn't. If you fall in love with a woman and you fall in love with her child and you want to be a stepfather, more power to you. I was raised by my stepfather. I'm thankful for him. He's my dad. Regardless of blood, that is my dad. He raised me. They taught me how to be a man. So I understand if you so choose it, but let's not act like a brother is wrong when he says that he don't want to choose that at that point in time. He should not have to. Just like the same thing they do with sisters. To the Tyler Perry theory, that a black woman's supposed to go out, get a Juris Doctorate, and be a lawyer, a prestigious law firm, making $500,000 a year, and she's supposed to get with Ray, who work at the corner store. Tyler Perry stories always tell you. She get left by the rich dude, and then she be going around to the corner store getting the groceries, and she finally looks at the guy bagging the groceries with his 3 daughters that he got from his grandmama. And she's supposed to fall in love, and no one's supposed to say anything. Now, don't get me wrong. If that's how you fall in love, that's your business.
Right.
But if you're a sister that went to law school and whatever you did and got to this level, if you want a brother on that level, I don't see a problem with it.
No, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Now, if you so choose, now I can understand if you making like 150 and he making 80, he's a teacher, you working in commodities. Okay, that's different. Because a lot of us as African Americans, most of our degrees are social services or social sciences or law. For the most part, that's what we do. Sisters do other things. They graduate at higher rates than us. So yeah, or even if you a sister and you working, you're a vice president of a bank, and this brother owns a shop or owns a barber shop, and he's successful. Yeah, that makes sense because the level that you're keeping it with is a successful brother.
Right.
If you're a successful sister, success doesn't always look the same.
Yeah.
So if he got 5 or 6 detailing trucks, or he got a food truck, he's doing something. He's successful. That ain't nothing wrong with that. But the idea that you, a sister making, $300,000 a year, is supposed to get Pookie off the fries and be good with that. And if you don't, something is wrong. That's ridiculous.
There's going to be a social economical clash.
Yeah,
of the Titans. Some Pookie missed something along the way, and it's okay that he's working. Hold on. Mm-hmm. It's okay that he's working, but where he missed it, you've been there for years. And if you're not prepared, you have to be prepared to walk him through that process and get to where you already been at the $300 job you got. So there's certain things that he hasn't may not have gotten that you did. So that you have. So you can do the Pookie. It's gonna be work for you though.
Yeah. But my thing is the sisters don't have to.
Yeah,
that's the reality, because there's enough successful black men, like we said. The successful black man that he may not be a college grad. Maybe he does own an auto shop. Maybe he does own a detailing shop. Maybe he does own a barber shop. Maybe he does own a restaurant or a food truck. So the success doesn't have to be the same, but there should be some type of, it shouldn't be like this,
That's gonna be tough.
And I'm gonna say this for the brothers. It shouldn't be like this for you either. All right, because we taught you're supposed to be a lawyer, basketball player, rapper, and you're supposed to just grab, the sister that decided she wanted to be at the strip club.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree, but that's tough.
No, I know that we are supposed to be the primary providers if we're looking at it from a Christological.
No. I'm talking about when you talk about in that space, it's the Sidney Poitier complex.
Mm-hmm.
Who was on his level at that time? That was a black woman.
Diane Carroll.
You talking ones and twosies.
Well, it wasn't too many black men or black women on that level.
That's
Like
what
with
I'm
Bill
saying.
Cosby. Bill Cosby very successful. He married an educated black woman. She wasn't that type of successful. What
Yeah.
I'm talking about is the rift. If you are the owner, if you are a $500,000 a year black male lawyer, and you get with a sister who's a $65,000 a year making teacher, that's fine.
That
She's
works better for
successful.
the
Yeah,
dynamic, though.
yeah, she's a successful field. But what I'm saying is, this $500,000 lawyer should not have to play, the Prince and the P, and just pick you up in the hood,
I
that
get you.
you
I
popping your
understand.
thumb,
Yeah.
and you ain't got no goals, but we supposed to as black men. That's what we supposed to do. No, it worked both ways. Is all I'm saying. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that, in our relationships, we do have a right to have expectations. We do have
Yeah.
a right to have standards, you
Yeah.
know. And if your standard is you want to get with Ray Ray and them and they doing their thing in the hood, and when he go to prison after you don't have two babies by him, now you looking for the dude that went to college, the lane, talking about, well, you don't judge me. No, what he supposed to do? Now if he choose to deal with you and the baby daddy, that's on him. And I ain't gonna
That
fault him for that.
these.
If he's in love and he wants to deal with that, I respect that. All right. And I hope that she loves and respects him back. But my point is, there should not be an expectation for men without children to get with women with children. And unless you're past a certain age. All right, because that's not wrong for you to say that I want someone on that doesn't have kids like I do. I want someone who is in college like I am, or who's degree seeking, or who's a business person like I am. Whatever it is, your standard is. You know. But again, I'm sorry, I don't know how we got into that. Somebody gonna clip us, and we're gonna be hearing about this years later. So.
Listen, I think we kept we kept it real PC. We use acronyms and it was good.
Shout out to the homies out west, though, since I talked about Cube and the Rolling 100s, I'll talk to the homies because, and again, with Cube, man, I just, I have my disagreements with Cube on his politics, but as an MC and as a black man, I respect him. All right. And I think that he's a solid brother. And more importantly, I don't like the fact that I hear people questioning him because he wasn't a Crip. That means that he can't tell the stories of the hood. He may not have been a Crip, but like I said, he's from the neighborhood. And part of the reason he wasn't a Crip because the homies didn't want him to be one because he had talent. I mean, that's how they used game back then. If you had talent, brothers would tell you, hey man, do you, don't come do us. Do you? If you went to school back then, if they knew you was smart, man, you go to school, man. Don't be like us. Don't do that. That was real gangsters. All right, they weren't trying to encourage you into that mess. So they didn't encourage Q to roll with the Rolling 100s or nothing like that. They encouraged him not to be part of it. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of gangster I can respect. But I'm sorry, we go on and on, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about, brother? Since we ain't talked in a minute.
So just going full circle, man. Just the SHA'CARRI thing, man, and it was just disappointing, man. People say, "Oh, you said this, you said that, you ain't supported." No, of course I supported, man. She was dynamic, man. She was hot. It was all of that, man. And it's just disappointing that we, culture. You succumb to we culture in the NS and it was just really disappointing, man. I really wanted to see the girl run. I was fired up, man. I think we all were. And it's okay to say you're disappointed. It's okay to say she messed up. It's okay to say that, and it's okay that she took it like a woman too.
Yeah. And I get tired. I got homies on Facebook on the original post talking about y'all act like y'all never did nothing. Man, look, hold up, man. I did stupid things, and I had some consequences to them stupid things. And I said, let me stop doing these stupid things. So all I'm saying is, instead of trying to say why she shouldn't be punished, look, we all did stupid things, and most of us are in a position when we did, and we had to deal with the consequences of that. She's dealing with the consequences of that. And the only positive thing to come from it is, like you said, we can say, hey, she did it. She messed up. She took her weight, and now she's going forward, and she's still being successful. That's the story we can tell later.
Yeah.
Right now, the story is, don't do dumb stuff. Don't act like weed is a way of life where you lose things. Or There's a young man, I wanted to get him to come work at my job. He had no criminal record. because he damn criminal record. Man, you got a record, man. Why don't you come work with us, right? He's like, all right, he go take the test and everything. Mess around, said, man, I can't take it. They say he dropped for weed, man. I can't stop smoking weed. I'm like, now this dude, when I met this young man, he was working at McDonald's making like $11 an hour. The job I was trying to get him to take was about $52,000 a year. But he couldn't stop smoking weed. He'd rather be working at the McDonald's, getting his little weed after work, getting blunted every day, as opposed to putting that down and doing something to put yourself in a better situation. And that to me just said volumes. And there's people like that. You can't save everybody.
Okay.
But we shouldn't act like, well, all you do is smoking weed. No. It's okay. It's not illegal here or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you can't get certain jobs with that. Mm-hmm. Unless you're going to be your own independent businessman, or you're going to become a rapper like Snoop, where it's okay. All right. Everybody can't be Snoop Dogg.
Right.
So everybody can't be Trey D. That you can be successful and still get blunted all the time. Some of us is going to get dropped at work.
Right.
Right. It is what it is.
Right.
So, but if you are that dude, more power to you.
Yeah.
But let's understand that you're not when you're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're not that guy. You can't do it, man. Like 2,000. It's the same thing here at the plant, man. 2,000 people from the inner city that can't pass the drug test.
Wow.
And it happens all the time. Like it's regularly known, and just can't pass it, man. And just on another note, that's why I'm against $15 an hour minimum wage, because we got jobs out here that people can't get because you can't pass the drug test. So you can raise it to $15 if you want to. You still got to pass that drug test.
I told you, you got to pass the drug test.
You still got to pass that drug test.
You got to pass the drug test, get a job at Target, man.
And if you think they're gonna pay you $15 an hour and not gonna start drop testing on every job now, what you gonna do then?
Yeah. And you can claim racism all you want to, but at the end of the day, if you know the deck is stacked a certain way, you got to change your behavior.
You have to.
If you want to, if you know that's one of the rules of the game is rigged, then you need to be the one not to be getting blunted because you know the game.
And that's the real.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real.
But anyway, Jonathan, man, we'll talk, man. I like having you on, man. I like having a discussion, man. You keep it. I hate to say, I don't want to say you keep it 100, man.
Right.
I keeps it real.
Right.
What did Dave Chappelle say? We're keeping it real goes
wrong.
It generally does.
Right.
It generally does, man. When keeping it real generally goes wrong. And for the record, Jonathan and I are both married to black women, because I know that was going to be. I didn't want to see all the. I didn't want to get all the instant the inbox and messages. Y'all probably married to what? No. We married.
That's her. On my phone. That's the first thing I see on my phone. Is that beautiful thing.
See? So, and honestly, and don't get me wrong also, if you're not married to a black woman, if you're married to a white person or Latino, whatever, that to me is personal choice. Who you love is who you love. I don't hate people. I don't hate nobody who don't found somebody that loves them and puts up with them and is going to take care of them. I don't care what color they are,
Yeah.
So let me be clear on that. We were talking about African-American relationships because, again, just like with crime, most people marry who they see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it normally goes. So at the end of the day, I'm simply saying that these narratives that there's not enough good black men, eligible black men out there, it's not true. There's eligible black men. I think we just might want to try to understand the definition of manhood a little bit better than we are.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
That being said, brother, I'm going to end the show. If you can hang out for a minute backstage, we'll chat a bit.
All right.
And, looking forward to talking to y'all again. Y'all take it light. Peace.